My kids communicate by memes and internet speak. If you're like me, when you see phrases like TLDR, you struggle to remember what in the world TLDR even means. And I'm literally shaking my head trying to understand SMH. When I was a kid, LOL meant lots of love. Well, not to worry. We aren't the first generation to struggle with words. In the Middle Ages, monks began writing this phrase, Graecum est non ligatur, which means it's Greek, can't read. Shakespeare made it a common idiom in English when he wrote it this way, but for mine own part, it was Greek to me. It's Greek to me. And words. Shakespeare had Juliet pondering the power of words when she asks, "What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet." Well, maybe, but I would dispute Juliet's claim. If the rose was called the stink blossom, I doubt we would appreciate the rose quite as much. So that raises the question, what's in a word? John 1 says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." In verse 3, he goes on to say that God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. Ponder this for a moment. This is talking about Jesus, who existed from the beginning, and God calls Jesus the Word. And everything was made by the Word. So literally, when Jesus spoke, the universe tumbled out into existence. The ultimate creative act was the Lord speaking the universe into existence with his word. Here it is in Greek. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And logos in Greek means more than just word. We get our word logic from the Greek root logos, but logos also means reason or speech or consideration. Essentially, logos means the idea behind the word. I had a professor in university who claimed that you couldn't think it if you didn't have a word for it. It brings up an interesting idea. When we read the Odyssey in class, for example, it's always puzzling to wonder why the sea is always described with the epithet, the wine-dark sea. Everybody knows that the Mediterranean is a beautiful azure blue color, not burgundy. It's not the same color as wine. But it turns out until modern times, nobody even knew that the ocean was blue, because until recently, nobody had a word for it. Not the Greeks, not the Chinese, not even the Hebrews had a word for blue. The Himba tribe in Namibia cannot distinguish a different color when they look at this screen. To them, all of the squares are exactly the same color. They don't have a word for blue. Consequently, they are unable to see the difference between green and blue. How crazy is that? But they easily can distinguish a difference here. If you can't tell which of these squares is different from the others, is it because your eyes don't work as well as the Himba? Maybe they can see the color because they have many, many words for different shades of green. So they immediately identify this one, slightly lighter shade of green, because they have a word for it. Our words shape the way we perceive reality. With a word, God created the universe. Incredible. and we are made in the image of God. This means that we too can create with our words. So our words don't simply change the way we perceive our reality. Our words have the ability to create our reality. In our classes, we teach students to create sentences and paragraphs and short stories and essays and poems and novels with their words. They are creating a universe of new and unusual ideas with their words. And when we speak to our students, we are creating their reality. What reality will we choose to create with our words for our students? Young Life talks about earning the right to be heard. When we speak to Young Life kids, we consciously try to speak 10 positive things in order to have the right to speak that one time about where they might need to grow or change. When I look at my students' work, it's easy to see everything through the lens of my red pen, catching every error in grammar, spelling, and punctuation. But how often do I intentionally encourage them for the potential I see in them? Award-winning poet Clinton Smith III tweeted it this way recently. I've said this before, but one of the only reasons I'm a writer is because I had a teacher in 3rd grade who looked at my poem about clouds and said, "You can be a writer when you grow up." It stayed with me forever. Teachers, don't underestimate what your words can do for your students. God spoke the universe into creation. What will you choose to create with your words? To paraphrase Joshua, I set before you this day words of life or death, words of blessing or a curse. As for me and my class, with our words, we will choose to serve the Lord. And until then, spread the word.